Morning, all. All right, so some signings to talk about, but nothing along the lines of what we saw over the last 24 hours. Yesterday was ridiculous. Appreciate everybody watching the videos yesterday, as well as those who tuned in for the live stream. It was crazy, and there's no reason to think that next year won't be just as crazy. But we do know one person who will not be part of next year's free agent frenzy, and that's Victor Hedman. Hedman staying with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's a 4-year deal for Hedman, $8 million per season. So they get Hedman done. This is the way it should have been done with Stamkos, coulda, woulda, shoulda, and all that. So hindsight's 2020. But they get Hedman done, so you don't have to worry about Hedman leaving if you're a Tampa fan. Keeping in mind too that defensemen usually will age, as far as their play in the NHL, age a little bit slower than forwards. I'll put it that way. You can find good defensemen in their mid to late 30s. It's more difficult with forwards, and Hedman's one of the best defensemen of his generation. Also, Tampa Bay has kept Lilleberg. 2-year extension for Lilleberg, $800,000 cap hit. No danger to that, of course. James Reimer has signed with the Buffalo Sabres. 1-year deal for Reimer, $1 million cap hit. Again, there's no risk there. You can bury more than $1 million in the minors if you need to. This also means that Devin Levi can get a full year with Rochester, and Reimer could be the backup for UPL. Because UPL really emerged as an excellent goaltender in the second half of this past season, and so he's going to get paid. We'll see what UPL's contract ends up looking like, but I'm sure that Buffalo's going to want to get that done sooner rather than later. Shortly after my last video was done yesterday, Adam Henrique signed an extension with the Edmonton Oilers. That comes in at a $3 million cap hit. It is a 2-year deal for Henrique. And Troy Stecher is staying with Edmonton as well. That was rumored to be coming as well. 2-year deal for Stecher, $787,500 per season. So no danger with the cap hit to Stecher, and keeping Henrique means that depth in Edmonton stays pretty solid. They also kept Connor Brown. This is a team that's going to be very dangerous again next season. The Oilers, I would think at the very least, will be favorites to win the Pacific Division, and may very well be favorites to win the Stanley Cup, right? So we'll see what happens, but Henrique is staying in Edmonton. Eric Brannstrom signs a 1-year deal with the Colorado Avalanche worth $900,000. This is seen as an excellent value for his contract. Of course, he was owed a $2 million qualifying offer, thus the reason that he didn't stay in Ottawa. Ottawa lets him go to market instead, and it was a tough go for Brannstrom in Ottawa, but if you look at the advanced stats, analytically, he was pretty good. So we'll see how Brannstrom does in Colorado. He'll play, I would think, with a better defense in Colorado, absolutely, and may have a chance to play minutes that better accentuate the positives of his game. So looking forward to seeing how he does under Coach Bednar. Ilya Samsonov, and I mentioned during the live stream yesterday that he'd signed with Vegas, but I didn't have the cap hit. I now do. It's $1.8 million for 1 year for Samsonov to be the backup to Aiden Hill. At least I assume the backup. Samsonov had a rough year in Toronto, so it's nice to see him getting a chance to go to Vegas. Vegas fans are very supportive of their players, very, very, very much so. I'm not saying that as a slight to Toronto or other fan bases, but Vegas is very much behind their players. Olofsson has also signed with Vegas. It's a 1-year deal, $1.075 million for the year. And I think that's an excellent value contract if they can get Olofsson back to being the 20-plus goal scorer he was not that long ago in Buffalo. So it is quite possible he needed a change of scenery. Now he's got it. He's going to Vegas. Florida, the latest team to switch the way that they're going to broadcast their games. They have a partnership now with Scripps Sports to locally broadcast games for free to residents in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, as well as Fort Myers. So Florida, the latest to make this shift. I don't think they'll be the last. I think there's going to be a lot of teams, especially those that are on the Valley networks, who will probably find other homes. The NHL, of course, has made it clear that if they have to, they can take over broadcasts and help with all that. Basically, it's just that the regional sports networks are not making the kind of money that they had hoped or expected, and they're in trouble. So with regional sports networks in trouble, we're going to see a huge change in how things are done. There's one change with the NHL schedule, and I talked about this when it was announced, but people seeing it on the schedule, not very happy about the 26 Monday games on Amazon Prime. So, as far as I know, you have to have an Amazon Prime subscription to watch anything on Amazon Prime. So this would be a separate subscription from your regular NHL. Now, I have an Amazon Prime subscription, but it does mean that I'm going to be watching cable for almost every game, and then there's going to be the Amazon Prime game as well. So that's going to be a little bit odd. I would assume that if they're on Amazon Prime, they're not going to be available on Sportsnet Plus or Center Ice. So yeah, that's an odd move for the NHL. And I have seen people saying, wait a minute, so now we have to get a different subscription service to watch NHL games? Yeah, it does feel like that's kind of going in the wrong direction. There was a court case that went against the NFL for their Sunday ticket, which could have an effect on other sports as well and could lead to an end to regional blackouts. It could lead to a complete change. So it could make it so that you could sign up for Center Ice and say, you know what, or ESPN Plus, Sportsnet Plus, say, you know what, I want to get all the Avalanche games. I want to get all the Dallas games. The NFL ruling could lead to that for NFL teams, which could then pressure other leagues to offer a similar package, which I think is kind of what a lot of fans have wanted for a very long time. I'm not sure how that would work with cable, of course, to just have one team, but at any rate, that's where things seem to be headed. Now, the crazy night on the schedule is October 22nd. There are 16 games. So I'm expecting those to start every 15 minutes. Keep in mind that I am going to be changing how I do reviews on really busy nights. 10 or more games, I'm going to be changing how I do the reviews for those nights. And there are 15 games on November 23rd and November 27th because American Thanksgiving. Also, there are 2 games on February 9th before the NHL goes on their break for the Four Nations tournament. And it doesn't return until February 22nd. So that's a long stretch there without NHL games. There will be the Four Nations tournament games, but I'll very likely be going on vacation at that time of year. It looks like it's just going to be one game per day, so it's not really going to hold me back from going on vacation during that time. It's a little bit later than the actual All-Star game usually is by a couple weeks. The season ends on April the 17th. It's a 6-game night. The season opens overseas on October the 4th, and then it opens in North America on October the 9th. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting season, and if it ends on April 17th, we're going to see the Stanley Cup final go right up until the draft again. This is just the NHL's way of saying, yeah, we've heard fans' discussions of how they'd like the season to end earlier, and we've said no. So, and the ratings being up for the Stanley Cup final tell them everything's fine, nothing to worry about. So, yeah, the schedule release, though, was kind of fun. Again, the Dougie Hamilton one was fun, but every team kind of went through their own release and how they did it. So, go check out the schedule for whichever team you're rooting for or teams you're rooting for. And I'll be looking through the NHL schedule and trying to figure out which tickets I want to buy for Vancouver Canucks games. Keeping in mind that if I'm going to go to an NHL game, it's normally when there's 4 or less games. I'll also throw in here, too, I know there's people who are aware I'm going to a concert on what I knew was going to be a busy night in the National Hockey League, and indeed it will be. There are 9 games in the NHL that night, but I'm going to a concert, so what am I going to do? I'm not going to not go to the concert. So anyways, there you go. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.